let me ask you a question. If Facebook were to go away tomorrow, what would you do with your business? How would you connect with your customers? How would you do follow-ups? How would you do a party? How would you communicate specials that were coming out? All right. I'm pretty sure Facebook's going to be here tomorrow. But what if I also asked you, what would you do if Amy wasn't here tomorrow? I think most of you know and have heard the news that Amy, sadly enough, is no longer able to provide us the service that they've been giving us for, oh gosh, it's been at least, 5-6 years, maybe a little bit longer, in our business. And for some of you, this may be a big point where you have to pivot. We all have times in our business where we have to pivot. Something isn't working any longer. We need to find a new solution. We need to find something different. We need to find a way to get more people or whatever it is, right? This very well might be the biggest pivot that you have had in your business so far. And so I want you, as we go through this video today, I want you to think about this in other respects of your business. Like I said, I'm pretty confident that Facebook's going to be here tomorrow. I was also pretty confident that we would have Amy to use as a follow-up system and to communicate with our customers as well. So we never know what's going to happen. My point here is that we don't own those things, right? We don't own Facebook. We don't own Amy. We don't own Instagram. So when we are relying on our business to bring us those contacts or make those connections or give us the ability to do easy follow-ups, we're kind of putting all of our eggs in that basket. Now, I will tell you that over the course of the last year and a half, I have really been looking for different ways to pull my info, the way that I'm doing things, off of particularly Facebook, but off of the traditional ways that I had been using things for my business. I also, about a year ago, finally got rid of Amy. And it wasn't because Amy wasn't good. It wasn't because it wasn't working. It was that I wasn't working with Amy. Because here's the tea. It would give me great anxiety every single day when I would open up that Amy app and it would pop up and it would be like, Jacqui, good afternoon. You have 127 to-dos today. That instant drop in my stomach would happen. That feeling of, oh, I feel so behind. How am I ever going to get caught up? I have this to do. I have that to do. I have so many things going on. What am I going to do? And so it was giving me stress. And so when something gives me stress, what do? I say, bye, Felicia. I don't have time for stress because I'm working on building my business. I'm working on building my empire, right? And so I started pulling away. And so I did. I got rid of Amy. And it was a big thing because I have been doing this Scentsy thing for over 10 years. And I will tell you that when I started, we didn't have Amy. We didn't have all those fancy apps. Yes, we had Facebook, but we didn't have all those little things happening, right? And so I started out in my business doing follow-ups with literally a notebook, a spiral notebook. That's how I did follow-ups. And while it may seem like, oh my gosh, Jacqui, how in the world did you keep track of everything? Trust me, I did. I had my own little system, right? Like I would highlight ones in a certain color when it was time for me to do them, right? Like a pink was to do. And then when I did complete it, I would go over it with a green highlighter. And so I knew, okay, it's done, it's out of the way, boom, I can now move on. And I literally just wrote everything down. Now, did that take a lot of time? Yes, it did. And I took a lot of time creating the system and then, of course, making sure that I followed up with it. So that only worked for so long, because after I really started running my business like a business, it was getting hard to keep up with that. It was getting too hard to handwrite everything every day. I dropped that system. I knew I needed something different. And so then I started an Excel spreadsheet, because I come from the world of Excel. That was my career. That's what I was very good at working in. And so I just utilized Excel. And so I used an Excel spreadsheet for probably about a year and a half of my business. Same concept though, right? I was the one having to go in and either import the information and then either highlight, or I would strike through the ones when I had completed them, or I would create a new tab for a new month, right? I had all these little systems happening, right? That I knew what was going on in that spreadsheet. Pretty soon, got to the point, you guessed it, that it was just getting too much, right? So drop that. The point is, I have tried so many different ways to do this. And then Amy came along and it made it easier. It made it simpler, because I was able to go in, it connected with my workstation. So it was very, very easy for me to, at the end of the day, the last thing I did to kind of close out my business day was I would sit down, I would open up my app. It would literally be on my phone. I did not do anything from the desktop, did it from my phone. I would just go through and do all of my follow-ups. My business grew. My team grew. My habits and everything that I was doing tended to overflow. And so then I would forget about Amy. So that kind of brings us up to speed, right? My point in telling you all of this is that there are 100 ways that you can do follow-up in your business. So with the fall of Amy, I don't want you guys to think that you need to reinvent the wheel or not do follow-up, because number one, follow-up is essential in your business. It just is. If no one has told you that, please know that Jacqui is telling you that right now. You need follow-up in your business. You need follow-up with your customers. You need follow-up with your hosts. You need follow-up with those people who you've had conversations about the opportunity. You need to follow up with your team members. You need to follow up with the people who have just joined. So I consider those my onboarding, right? They're in their first 70 days. So I'm really trying to focus on getting them plugged into resources. All of those things were a process that I knew I needed to track. I needed to follow up. So if you think that follow-up is just with customers, I want you to kind of take that idea, toss it out the window, because hopefully this will give you a new insight into seeing that follow-up needs to be a main focus in all the systems in your business. Every single system you do, you're going to need to follow up on that system. You're going to need to be checking into that system. So I am here to share with you guys how I have bypassed Amy. Like I said, I did away with Amy about a year, maybe longer, ago. Again, it was giving me stress. It just wasn't bringing me joy. I had to say goodbye. And so I needed to find a new way to start doing things. And so for a while, I flip-flopped back and forth to different things. I was using my Google Calendar to really track on the days that I was committing to follow-ups that day. And when I say committing, I mean like that's my main focus of the day. If you are familiar with how I work and how I kind of drip my work out throughout the week, every single day is a new theme. So of course, one of those days is dedicated to follow-up. And that's the day that I am going through and I'm making sure that my follow-up is done with my customers, with those conversations I've got going on. Now, not to say that those things won't happen outside of that one day a week, but I had a specific day for follow-up. I still do. So, utilizing my Google Calendar and all the fun colors, it was a really great way for me to visually see what needed to be done. Now, if you are anything like me, I also had other things on my Google Calendar, right? So I have like our household calendar, which kind of organizes my husband and I's finances, right? So we know when bills are due, what needs to be paid, whose birthday it is in the family, you know, all the household essential things, right? That kind of go along with the household. So I had that one in there. I had linked a couple of calendars from groups that I'm in, one from a collab group that I was in. And so every day you would see like all these different colored blocks just like stacked up on top of each other in my Google Calendar. And I would try and clean it up and be like, no, I'm no longer doing this, or no, I can get rid of that reminder. I don't need that in my calendar, and so on. Now, I will say, if you have not yet tried a Google Calendar method in the way of follow-up, I would definitely say give it a try. And you know, when I say give it a try, that means for a good 90 days. Commit to yourself, I'm going to try this system out for 90 days. Now, 90 days might seem like a long time. It's only 3 months. Calm down. But studies have shown, there's lots of information out there that show that habits are built after about, I think it's like between like 20 and 30 days. Like if you're doing something every single day, I want to say like after 21 days, it just kind of becomes a habit. Now, while it becomes a habit, it doesn't necessarily mean that it might be working the best for you and your business. Because like I said, as my Excel spreadsheet worked well, right? It was a great concept. I had a great handle on it. It just wasn't working for me the way I needed it to. So I encourage you, whenever you're trying a new system for pieces of your business, give it 90 days. Because for one, it's going to give you time to build that habit up. So you're going to start doing it on either that day or every day. If it's one of those things that needs to be done every day, whatever, right? It's going to give you that ability to kind of build up that momentum. For two, what it's going to do is it's really going to push you to say, are you going to continue to keep up with this? Is this something that you're going to be able to manage? And that, my friends, is the key. Because even though something might work, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for you. I know, and you know, that there are hundreds of other YouTube videos out there by other Scentsy consultants of different ways that they do follow up in their business, or how they work their business, how they schedule their days, so on and so on and so on. I have always been someone who has preached and said, there are 1,000 different ways to work this business. You just have to find the one that works for you. So just like Amy was working well for a lot of people, it wasn't working for me. That had to change. I had to change. I needed to pivot away and find something that was going to work for me and my business. Google Calendar was one of those things, and it worked really, really well. I would say probably about, horrible with time right now. I would say probably about 9 months ago, I really decided that I needed to change up how I was doing things. My Google Calendar was great. Not only could I see it on the computer or my iPad or my phone, however I was working that day, that concept was fantastic. I loved that ability, but visually it was becoming too cluttered, and I was finding it hard to pull out the pieces of what needed to be done. And so I pulled away from the Google Calendar and I thought, okay, I've used Trello before in my business, on and off over the years, but Trello at its heart is a CRM. It's a customer retention management platform. That's exactly what it is built for. It's not built for direct sales necessarily. It's built for companies, small businesses, individuals, all kinds of different reasons why people use Trello, but it's simply there to be able to not only collaborate together with other people, but you can also create really great ways to keep things organized, to stay on track, and to be able to integrate it into other platforms. Such as the fact that I actually have it built in. I have a plugin for it, which is what they just call like adding it to, but a plugin on my Gmail, which is what I use for my primary email for my business. And so there's a plugin that includes Trello. So when something pops up in my email that I know I either need to follow up with this, right? Either an order shipped, somebody placed an order, somebody joined my team, somebody's reaching out because they're interested in joining, they have a question about a pre-sale coming up, whatever it is. All I have to do is when I'm in that email, I can click my Trello button, and what it will do is it will send it to one of my Trello lists on my Trello boards, okay? And so I automatically didn't have to then go into Trello, write down or type in what I needed, and then go back to my email and finish reading my email. It was simply a quick one-click thing that I could do to get it over there. And then when I went into Trello, that's when I could management, set it up, and do all the things. I knew that this was going to be something that was going to work for me. For one, because I do work a majority of my business through email. Email is one of my biggest ways of working my business. Some of you might do a lot of messages on Facebook or chat rooms or whatever, right? For me, it just happens to be email. That's where I've driven a lot of my traffic to come from. So when I'm on Pinterest, when I'm on Instagram, when I have my link out there, my catch-all, so to speak, of how people can contact me for whatever reason, all of that drives it back to my email. Because for me, in my world, in my business, it's easier for me to keep track of something if I can see it, if I can read it, if I know what needs to be done. And then I can triage it and I can say, okay, it needs to go at the top of this to-do list for today, or this can wait until next week. I'm going to go ahead and put that on next week's list, and so on and so forth. So I knew that this was going to be a really great vehicle for me to be able to keep up with my business. So I integrated Trello into my Gmail. And I will tell you, I did it for 90 days. And in those first 90 days, as I was doing that, I was slowly finding that just by integrating this one little step, I was able to organize my work. I was able to keep up with things, and I was doing it effectively. Now, that has worked for me. Whether or not this works for you, I don't know. And you probably won't know until you try it. So, what I am going to give to you today is my alternative to Amy. This is what I have been doing for, like I said, the past 6 to 9 months, definitely the last 6. So maybe that the 3 months before was just my trial period. Maybe it was the dating phase. I just don't know. But I know for a fact that at least it goes back to January, because I can look on my boards and I know exactly where I'm at. So I know how long I've been doing it. And what I can tell you is that it has been the saving grace in my business. Now, I obviously did this before I had any idea, before Scentsy had any idea, maybe even before Amy had any idea that they were no longer going to be available to us. Luckily, I had that backup plan. So this is why in the beginning of the video, I challenged you guys by asking you what you would do if Facebook went away tomorrow. What would you do if Amy went away tomorrow? Think about this in your business. Remember, you guys, Facebook could crash tomorrow. Who knows? Be down all day, be down 72 hours. I don't know. I'm assuming it would come back up at some point, right? But what would you do? Do you have access to all of that information? Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. Maybe you would actually have to put your business on hold for a minute, right? Like you'd have your workstation, but would you know who you were talking to, or if you had sent out some messages, right? There's a lot of different reasons why I'm really going to encourage you guys to pull off of Facebook. Pull off of Facebook. The simple reason being is that this situation with Amy has given us the exact reason as to why we need to do that. I'm not saying don't work your business on Facebook anymore. By all means, work your business how you work your business. That's not my business. It's a lot of business, right? Okay, that's not my business, right? It does not matter to me how you work your business. But what I want for you is to have a business to where you have the ability to access your information at any time, regardless of the platform. So when you are looking for different ways to do something in your business, you're going to have to look and see what are others doing that is working for them. What is something else I can try? I will share with you also, before I dig into this, is that for my Superstar Director and a lot of people I know, Project Broadcast has really filled that role. Not only the role of follow-up, but it has also filled the role of connecting with customers, with team members, with people that they have been talking about the opportunity with their VIPs, so on and so forth. So Project Broadcast might be something that really may work for you in your business. I did date Project Broadcast for about 3.5 months. It didn't work for me. What I found when I did Project Broadcast was that not only did it confuse my customers, but it also confused my team. And I couldn't do it. The reason why that it confused them, and maybe I could have done a better job at explaining or rolling it out, so to speak, but the main reason is that with Project Broadcast, when you are utilizing that, it gives you or generates a new phone number that you're going to be able to text through, okay? So for my customers and even for my team, when I started using Project Broadcast and they started seeing it coming from this different number that they didn't know, that wasn't saved in their phone, they were all kinds of confused. Even though at the end it was like, your Star Director, Jacqui Duran, or your Scentsy gal, Jacqui. They were responding back with, who is this? I don't understand. Did you get a new phone number? Is this your phone number now? Like, I did more explaining than I did actually getting the info across. That was a huge red flag for me, okay? Now, for you, it may be completely different and your customers may not have any of those questions. It may not make a difference and you will probably do a better way at explaining it than I did. But when that happened, I was like, no, I gotta break up. I gotta break up with Project Broadcast. It just wasn't working. So with Trello, here's the thing with Trello. Trello is a CRM, it's a customer retention management service. And again, it is built not only to house information, but to help you organize information and also give the ability to collaborate in real time, maybe with your team members, right? In one of our main ways that we collaborate. or people that you work with on a regular basis, right? Your collaboration network, okay? So that might be one of the greatest ways that I see Trello working for us as it really is talking about Scentsy consultants as a whole. Because here's the deal. We do a lot of networking with each other, working with our teams. If you have a team, then hopefully you're setting up systems for your team as well, right? Times that you're going to be available, things that you want to work on with your team. You want to help them understand it's transition month. Maybe you want to give them resources, all these things, right? So Trello really can be a great system to utilize for all of those things. You can create a free Trello account, and I will tell you that I worked off of the free Trello version for quite some time. Trello actually did an update maybe about a year ago now, to where it used to be that you could use the free version, but it was limited. And so in order to really utilize it in a great way or in an easier way, you had to have that paid version. So Trello, like I said, it was probably about a year ago, they decided we're going to revamp how we're doing this. And so what they did is they actually gave the free version a whole lot of the ability and features that used to be on the first paid tier of Trello. I worked on that Trello free version with all of those added upgrades for quite a while, and it was doing just fine. So the very first question that you're going to ask me is, Jacqui, how much does it cost? And that is my true answer, is that you can work with Trello for free. You do not need the paid version. I always say this. Utilize a program, whether it's Canva, whether it was Amy, whether it was Trello, whether it's Project Broadcast, which I don't know if they have a free version anyway, but utilize the free version and really see if that is going to work for you. If it is working, keep it up. You don't necessarily need to go to the paid version. But if you find yourself where I was with Trello, where I had really integrated so much of my business and so much of my follow-up in there, that it got to the point to where it was like, in order to really take this to the next level and make it even better and work for me more proactively, I'm gonna need that paid version. So I do the first tier, whatever it is they call it. I want to say I pay like $11 a month. I don't know, somewhere around there. And that is what I use it for. I have now integrated my daily to-do list. Okay. I've integrated my systems that I do every week, things that I do weekly, things I do at the beginning of the month, things I do in the middle of the month, things I do at the end of the month, projects that I'm working on, sales that are coming up, LTOs that are coming. I can track all of that. All of that is in my regular everyday Trello board. So I have these cards, right, of all these different things. Each one has a topic and everything is listed below them. That is one board. Another board happens to be my fragrance friends. And on my fragrance friends, what it is all of my customer information. So I know if they're a current customer, meaning that they've ordered from me within the last 90 days. That's what I define as a current customer. Previous customers, that's anybody who hasn't ordered in the last 90 days or more. New customer contacts that have reached out to me via my job form or the different areas of traffic that I've driven them from, right? Referrals, and then I specifically have something that is there for my VIP lounge that I utilize for my customers. Now I also have a follow-up board, and the follow-up board is literally just that. It is pure an utter follow-up of orders. So in this board, I have a card for every single month. So what I do is at the beginning of every month and throughout the month, as I get an order, whether it's PWS, whether it's a party, whether it's a Scentsy Club subscription coming out, I will go through, and when that order posts on my on my workstation, I will then go in there. I will either take a screenshot or I will do a quick little, I will grab a picture of the screen real quick, and then I will just add it to this board for the month. And then for the month, so like right now I'm looking at my June 2022 board or list rather, and in this list is everybody who ordered from me in June. So when I click into each person, then I can see what have I done to follow up. Have I done that initial thank you follow up? Have I done after you received your order follow up? Did I send any happy mail? What was it that they ordered? What are the scent families or the products that they're most interested in, right? A lot of that information I'm getting from the Jot forms that I use. You could also use Google Forms to do the same thing. I just love Jot form better. So I utilize Jot forms. So the information that I get off of Jot forms, I'm importing into their actual card on my Trello list. So everything about that customer and the interactions for that month are right there. The good thing with this is that I can see this across all my devices. So I can pull up the Trello app on my phone if I'm out running around. I've got my iPad usually wherever it is that I'm working. If I'm at the desktop, of course, it's always up in the background because I'm working through it, because that's where like my main daily things are in that one Trello board. But this is how I am able to keep track of everything and know, did I send them anything? Did I not? Now, here's the burden of working with this, is that yes, it is going to take you inputting the information in. Unlike Amy, where it would just directly link from your workstation, everything was there at a glance, that piece is gone. But like I said, that is why I specifically will do like a screenshot of their order. If it's a really long order, I will take like just one. I don't necessarily make sure it's the entire order, but I do have it to where it shows like the total and a good idea of the types of products that they're buying. Maybe it's the clean line, maybe it's wax and warmers, maybe it's licensed products, whatever, right? So that kind of a thing. So all of that is in there. And then what I do, then I can set in there, and I can set due dates so I know when something is needing to be done. Now, when something is needing to be done, with that follow-up, that's where I kind of take another program, because this was my double down. This became my atomic habit. If you've read the book or if you've heard James Clear, who is the author, speaking, he was one of our keynote speakers at our 2019 Austin, Texas Scentsy Family Reunion. And one of the books that I absolutely adore is Atomic Habits. And what James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits is just this. So your habit is, let's say, for example, Trello. That's my habit, right? I go to Trello. This is what I do. I mark down when I follow up with them. I mark down if I send them happy mail. What did I send them? I also include that as well. So I know what to follow up with next time. Be like, hey, how did you like those washer widths that I sent you? That kind of a thing, right? To make it an atomic habit, it's taking a habit that you're already doing, that is already something that you're used to doing, and then adding something or adding a second step to that. And that second step bleeds into that one habit, making it an atomic habit, like this epic habit that you do. And so for me, what I have found has been easiest, because remember, my main source of communication with the majority of my customers is email, but I also do texting and I also do Facebook messaging and things like that, right? I need all of that information where I can get it. So I incorporated a program called Boards. Now, Boards is, Are you ready for this? It's a 4-letter word, so get ready. Free. It's free. You guys, it is free. Free for free, free for free, free. Okay, what it does is it will set up and save your verbiage. For example, on the desktop version, I can go to boards.com, I can log in, and I have all of these different ways of all of these different shortcuts of things for when I'm communicating. So for people who are joining my team, it is their welcome message, getting them on board, getting things set up for them, plugging them into resources. I also have like a consultant FAQ where it is literally going through the most frequently asked questions that I get from team members. Like, where do I go to do this? Or how do I find this in the workstation? So what I've done is I've sat down. I took probably about a week or two, not like entirely, but over the course of about 2 weeks, and went through and created all of these different responses, so to speak, or pieces of information. Now, every single one is not too long. It's fairly short. I try and keep it 4 sentences or under, because that way when I'm texting it specifically, I don't want this huge long notebook of a text, okay? Nobody's going to read all through that. Trust me, they're not. So I try and keep it 4 sentences or less, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, depending on what the question is, right? But what I'm able to do with that is, once it's in there, and then of course, if I'm on the desktop, I can just copy and paste, boom, boom, into an email. There, it's done. Now, when it comes to using boards on mobile, there is an app, Boards, BOARDS. Now, that again, free, completely free. What it does though is you have to link it to the keyboard on your phone. Okay, so I'm an Apple gal, but for Android, this works just as well. I just don't know the steps specifically for Android. But for an iPhone, maybe you're familiar with using like Bitmojis in your keyboard, right? Maybe you've got that. Or maybe you have an app like Hashtags or Boost that actually goes in and it will give you things that like will change your font on your messages, okay? That is like an alternate keyboard. So you go to general, you go to settings, you go to keyboard, allow this to utilize my keyboard. So all I have to do is push that little keyboard button in the bottom when I am texting somebody, when I'm on my phone responding to emails, hit that button. It will automatically pull up all my boards that I've already created. And then I can go through and figure out which one am I responding to. Is it a customer with a question? Is it a team member with a question? Is it following up on an order when I get that email that says, hey, congratulations, Jacqui. Sally Joe has ordered from your website. Here's her order number here, right? You can connect with her. So what I do is when I get that, I automatically will pull that up, send an email, and go and pull up my alternate keyboard with my Boards app. And then I will put in my thank you. Of course, I personalize it. I will go in there and use their name. Or if it's a special LTO item, something like that, I might add in a little bit of personalization. But all of it's there. Click, click, boom, I'm already done. So by creating my Trello system telling me when I need to follow up, that board system comes in and gives me what I am saying or what I'm actually following up with when I'm having communication with my customers, my team, my people that I'm talking about the opportunity with, right? All the things. So this is my Amy alternative, and I'm going to be linking, so you should see here. You will also see in the description of this video, I have links to how to get started with Trello, what my Trello looks like. I also have the same thing with boards, and it's actually on 2 videos. So there's a part 1 and then there's a part 2. The part 1 is how to use boards in your business. And what that does is it literally is showing you from my desktop, because it is a screen capture of me showing you boards and how to set those up. In part 2, it's actually taking everything that you've done by doing it on the desktop, because I will say it was a lot easier to type it out than it was to text it out on the phone. That's why I utilized the desktop version. But it all syncs to that app on your phone. But the part 2 video will show you how I actually use boards in real time, because what that is literally a screen share from my phone. So you get to see inside my computer on how I use Trello, how I use boards, and then also how I'm using it from my phone when I'm on the go. So you get to see exactly how that concept is working. Now, this is just my current personal method to the Amy alternative. I've been using this, like I said, remember, for about 6 to 9 months, so almost a year now. I have been utilizing this system. I have found that it is working wonderfully for me. I am very happy with it. It is keeping me on track. It's keeping me on schedule. I'm finding that especially because I think the majority of it is that with Trello, everything is very visual, and I am a very visual person. You can customize it. You can create colors. There's so many different ways that you can individualize Trello and how you use it and what you use it for. So for me, that is a very big plus in why I use that program. Boards was just a way for me to take that one step further into the communication piece. So it was easy no matter if I was on my phone, on my iPad, or sitting down at my desk. So it took all of those ways and put them into one. And again, free. If you are using and starting out with the free version of Trello and keeping it that way, you don't feel like you need to upgrade, don't upgrade it unless you feel like you need to, unless you're at that point to where, Jacqui, I've maximized everything. Now I need more stuff that I can do. Then go for that paid version. But utilizing Trello and boards is going to keep you with $0 out of pocket to be able to utilize a great follow-up system. Now, the same can be said, again, maybe you haven't yet tried Google Calendar. Try your Google Calendar, or try your calendar app if you have a different one. I'm a Google girl, so that's kind of where I started. That's where I kind of live with things. So the Google Calendar, like I said, worked really well for me. I was just finding it a little too cluttered for me to be able to keep up with it reliably. So try Google Calendar, because that is also a wonderful way that I found and I utilized for a long time to really keep up with my business and to do that follow-up. Now, you are going to need some different things when it comes to utilizing your Google Calendar. Why? Because you can't just click on something and automatically send a text through Google Calendar, right? So maybe you're utilizing Google Docs where you've got things and responses already written out. But I will say, if I was still utilizing Google Calendar instead of Trello, I would use boards on top of that. Boards would become the atomic habit to follow Google Calendar. Does that make sense? So utilize different things together and see how they work for you. So the Google Calendar could ding or could alert me and say, okay, today's the day for follow-up. You need to follow up with Sally, James, Kylie, and Stephanie. And so then I would go down the list, and then I could very easily, if I was on my phone, just click over to that other keyboard. Thank you so much. I see you've gotten your order. I hope everything's working or smelling as you'd like it to. There's samples on the way, whatever my follow-up is, right? Whatever that message looks like. And then sending that out. So Google Calendar can work really well. If you're feeling up to it, like I said, you can go back to check out my Trello and then my boards videos. Those should give you a really great starting place to work from. Now, because I am continuously working on all of these, and I am constantly looking for ways that I can perfect the way that I'm doing my work, because for me, I want to work smarter, not harder. I am always tweaking the things that I'm working on. So be on the lookout. If you are not yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, because when a new video comes out, you'll get alerted. I will continue to put out videos that are showing how I'm utilizing it more and more and more, getting you more in depth with how these systems work for me and how I'm really making them work in my best interest for my business. So making me feel like my business is running it all on all cylinders at all times. That's the goal. Okay. So I'm going to have more training coming up. Specifically, I've moved it up on my priority specifically because of Amy going away. And I know for a lot of you, this is going to be a big change. So I want to make sure that I'm giving you as much as I possibly can and showing you as much as I possibly can of how you can do this. So at the end of the day, do not fret. Do not fret. For one, I have the utmost confidence that Scentsy is going to be coming out with a similar program to Amy that will come along. Maybe it'll be better. Maybe it won't. Who knows? But I guarantee you that Scentsy is very well tuned into the fact that Amy was a big part of the way that a lot of us were working our businesses. So if you hadn't moved away from Amy yet, obviously you're doing it now. So there is a mass exodus of people looking for information. So if this is helping you or giving you ideas of different things that you can try without spending money out of pocket, that's like my number one thing, specifically for my team members, right? I don't want them, just like Orville has always told us, right? Don't spend family money on Scentsy. Okay, so that's why, like, I saved my PWS money. I saved that on my Scentsy pay card, so I don't have to worry about that coming out of my monthly budget with my husband, all the things. So if I'm able to keep my follow-up system at 0 free, then that makes it even better for me as a business owner, right? I'm not having to pay for it. So I want you to be able to utilize these programs. So watch for more videos to come. I am going to be including those, but I wanted to make sure to get this out to you guys because I've received a lot of messages about it. So get started on that. Follow up with these videos. And if you have questions, do not hesitate to reach out. Have a great day. And as always, peace, love, happiness. Bye.